The future is bright indeed. We're all of us dreaming of the better days ahead, and a part of your bright new future could be a move to where the magic lives in the greater Orlando area of Florida. One of the biggest decisions you'll make when considering a move is selecting a realtor who can successfully match you with the right home in the right location at the right price. Victor Naraki is the realtor who can help you make the move you've always wanted to. Whether you're a first-time homeowner or looking to move near Disney World, Victor is in your corner. If you are looking for an experienced real estate agent covering all of Central Florida, please visit DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com today and find out just why you should work with Victor. I encourage you to create a free, no-obligation account on his website. By doing so, you'll unlock the website's full potential and be able to enter specific criteria, save listings, and browse new properties sent to your email. Visit DisneyAtYourDoorstep.com today or visit his Facebook page, Victor Naraki Realtor. And don't forget to tell him the Grand Circle Tour podcast sent you. Broadcasting from the Grand Circle Tour podcast studios, hidden cleverly behind Celine Dion's enormous shoe rack here in Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, we welcome our man of the hour, with tonight's special guests, Conductor Dan, Ringmaster Holly, Jungle Skipper Jason, Mission Commander Justin, VIP Tour Guide Mindy, Captain Stan Solo, and some very special guests, all coming together for tonight's star-studded roast. Now, please welcome the man of the hour, Bellhop George.
Okay.
You're up, George.
Say something.
A roast?
Who came up with this idea?
Did you think we were going to let you out easy?
I mean, I was expecting something, but a roast?
Maybe George isn't the one that should host the show. What about you, Stan?
Okay. I think Stan should host the show.
Alrighty, I'll host it.
George, this is like a gang initiation. When you get beaten up on the way in, you get beaten up on the way out as well.
What were you expecting today?
Well, I actually think it's kind of funny because I actually do love a good roast. I'm a big fan of the Dean Martin roast and the Comedy Central roast, and I've always
say that
been
now.
part of a roast, but now I'm kind of thinking I'm regretting that decision.
And well, you should. Look at this motley crew you have around you.
Yeah, and look at how you started out the conversation with me, because I'm showing up sleepy. So
Hashtag haha George.
Oh boy.
Hashtag I love you more.
So do we just start over, or do I just go on?
Oh, you're in charge now.
Oh,
Dude.
you're in charge,
We
Dan.
do what you
Right.
say.
On with the
First
show.
of all-
We're gonna mute George right now.
Okay, first of
I
all,
think we should mute him till the end.
Oh, we might need some reactions out of him.
yeah, to eat some reactions. Don't mute them. Yeah, I just want to say what an honor it is to be hosting this show, George's final show with the Grand Circle Tour podcast. He's an original member of the group, and it's been a long time coming. We've been together for many years. I just want to, which one of you is George? Can you put up your hand or something? Okay, there he is. There he is over there. Okay. But seriously, we've been planning this for a long time, George, for quite some time. And I don't know if it got leaked to you or not. Did you know? Is this a shock to you?
Well, I was wondering when it said the announcement, when it said roast, I'm like, roast of what? And then
So no one told you in advance. We managed to keep this a surprise.
No.
Okay, I'm going to let you in a little
My
secret.
lips were sealed.
Okay, I'm going to let you in a little secret. Your wife, we talked to her beforehand, and she said that this would be really fun and exciting.
Of course
But
she did.
she has been wrong before, because she said the exact same thing about your wedding night.
Yeah.
And
She
this
did
is what
say
it
I
should be
do.
like all night long, George.
Anyways, first up, I'm going to bring on Jungle Skipper Jay. And for those of you that don't know, a little behind the scenes, Jay does all the editing for the show. He does all the, puts in the music and all that. And lately, the trend in podcasts is to put the background music in. And So Jay's been doing that. He's been adding the background music, which I love, but you're not that good at it though, I have to say. Because whenever George talks, I can still hear him. So you got to work on that, okay? Can you fix that, please, Jay?
After today, it won't be a problem.
Alrighty, go ahead.
And I asked to go first. George, my friend George, you. Nobody likes a quitter. So here we are, dude. It's your last episode. For 4 years, from the ground up, you have worked hard. You have given us your passion. You've given us every piece of you. And I want you to know, now that it's the end for you, I am finally going to start that rumor about you and Mindy alone together in Florida. I mean, everyone's going to find out why she really dug her nails into your thighs. And guess what? There's nothing you can do about it because Dan is locking you out right now as I speak. So speaking of Mindy, you'll notice she flaked on tonight's party. As a joke, we told her she needed to chip in $5 for George's party. So rather than reach in her own pocket, she said, I never liked him anyway. Sorry, dude, you're not her side chick anymore. So, George, I don't know if you know this, but your leaving is going to make my job so much easier. I don't know if passengers know this about George, but he says 3 words. Then he waits 3 seconds. Then he says 3 words. Then he waits 3 seconds. I mean, dude, your sentences have more pregnant pauses than the Octobomb. I mean, when I go to edit the show, I can always tell when George is speaking because his waveform looks like an old-fashioned SOS Morse code. Now, I want to say you do make the rest of us feel young. Not because you're the youngest, but because like a 13-year-old boy who just learned about happy adult times and can't shut up about it. No, seriously, shut up about it. We're all tired of it. This puppy has humped our leg for the last 4 years. Our group messenger is going to be so empty without George replying to everything. That's what she said. Literally everything. Literally every reply, George. So if you want to take advantage of George, not that anybody anywhere would, not because of his nasty, funky hobbit feet he's so proud of, not because this hairy little elf looks like Chewbacca's son Lumpy, not because he's a 30-year-old man who can't talk about anything but Disney, not because he's made The Little Mermaid weird. Not for any reason at all does anybody anywhere want to take advantage of George. But if they did, one drink's all it takes, kids. This guy is an amateur. I took him to Trader Sam's. I bought him 1 drink. I bought him 1 alcoholic drink. He put the umbrella in his hair. He cursed at the cast members because we showed up too late for food. I had to pull him out because I've had him passed out in the cooler at Captain Cook's. We had to drag him through the parking lot and toss him in the trunk like a dead body. And then he hung his head out the window like a dog with its tongue out as we drove down I-4, just drooling chunks on the side of my rental that I then had to clean up. So we get him to bed, and then he spends the rest of the night moaning out Ariel's name. Seriously, dude, you have permanently made The Little Mermaid weird. George, you.
Oh, that's funny. Thanks, Jay. George is often criticized for not having any culture, and I, for one, I know that recently him and Jessica, they went to the ballet, and partway through he turns to his wife and he goes, "Why are they standing on their tippy toes? Why don't they just hire taller ballerinas? What's going on here?" Anyways, up next we have Justin. Mission Commander Justin. Justin is one of my best friends, which kind of gives you a good idea how bad I am at making friends. When it comes to being an amazing podcaster, Justin knows where it's at. Why he doesn't go get it is beyond me. I don't understand that. But anyways, Justin, go ahead. You're up next.
Oh. After that, you're going to get off a little easier, although I should add, that's what she said, because I know I appreciate that.
Obviously, it wasn't Mrs. Falcione that said that, but...
Not yet.
So I want to start by saying if I had a nickel for every time I've been on the show with George, I'd have like 2 nickels. Stan's Wheel O co-host just never seems to put us together. So while I have had the pleasure of working with George a few times, I've also had the pleasure of not working with him a far more times.
The luckiest guy in the show.
Some advice that I've heard is that to be successful in podcasting, you need to be sincere. You need to be authentic. But whoever told George that he should be himself gave him very bad advice. George is sort of an acquired taste. Or is it that he needs to acquire some taste? It's one of those. I've mentioned to a few of my co-hosts before that I like to think of interpersonal dynamics in terms of the Muppet Show. Doesn't everyone?
I do.
And I'm the one that's calling George weird. And in that context, I've always thought of George as our own Gonzo the Great. On the Muppet Show, Gonzo is a bit eccentric, a little weird, but he's also an important part of the group who's just as serious as everyone else about putting on a good show. So even if Gonzo's definition of a good show is a little different from everyone else's. But he's also one of the funniest characters. And George, likewise, has been an invaluable member of this group who is also just as serious about putting on a good show, even if he does come across as a little eccentric at times. So George is a man who brings his own sense of humor to the table. He brings his own unique perspective on things. And most importantly to me, he brings his own hat. He has his own Tower of Terror bellhop hat, and personally, I have great respect for anyone who's willing to wear a silly hat. So, while bellhop George might be a bit of a lovable goofball at times, he is our lovable goofball, and he always will be. He will definitely be missed, and we'll miss having him around. So, there you go. That was my bit.
Very good, Justin.
Great job, Justin.
Good job.
Thanks. Now I look like the mean guy.
You haven't heard Dan yet, so
Yeah, we're dreading what Dan has to say.
Yeah, I married him. I get to be mean to him every day.
So do we.
seriously though, Jessica, you're very lucky to have married George. I mean, every day is like Thanksgiving. That's what happens when you marry a turkey. We like to make fun of George on the podcast, but why not? Have you ever looked at him? Seriously. George and Jessica went to Walt Disney World on their honeymoon. When they went to the Haunted Mansion, George got scared on the Haunted Mansion. It scared his pants right off. At least that's what he told the judge. Anyways, we told a few of the friends of the show that you were leaving and we were doing this roast, and they wanted to get in on the action. So first up, we have Big Fat Panda himself, John Saccheri, and he did a quick recording, and we'll play that right now.
Oh, George. I love George because not only is he George, he kind of looks like he could be my brother. Just a thinner version. He works at Hallmark, and I love Hallmark. But during a podcast, I learned a lot about George that I didn't need to know, such as where his fingers go and where he enjoys them to go when someone is not watching, or maybe when people are watching. I don't know. I really honestly don't think there is a level to his shame. What's really terrible though is I was once at Splitsville after George had left, and the lady next to me used the same bowling ball as George, and she complained to the manager that someone must have eaten a fudge brownie after using the ball that she had, and I knew that was George's, and well, I didn't say anything, but whatever, George. God bless.
Oh, I love Panda.
Oh, it was good. George, though, he's a good egg, and we all know where eggs come from. So, people might be noticing that one of our co-hosts isn't here. Dan, knock knock.
Who's there?
Mindy.
Mindy who?
Exactly. Anyways, we asked her to come in, and unfortunately she wasn't able to make it. George would often record in here's a little behind the scenes. George would often record the podcast in the bathroom. Are you in the bathroom right now, George?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
But he would often, I don't know, it may be because the sound he thinks might sound better in there. I don't know. But you have to realize, we often we'll get on at least 15 minutes early, sometimes a half hour early. And then we do the podcast. It's like an hour long sometimes. And then we talk for like an hour or 2 hours. And the entire time, George is in the bathroom. And not once, never, ever, not once has anyone from his family ever checked up on him to make sure he was okay or wondering what he was doing in there. It's like he just spends all day in the bathroom. Like, that's just his room, and it's just known that that's where George is going to be. Just weird, really weird to me.
It's his own little man cave.
That's what I think it is. I'm expecting him to start installing neon signs and stuff in there.
But enough about you.
Holly is... How do I there we go. Is Holly really your name?
No, it's Sleepy.
No. Sleepywood?
It is now. It is now.
It is out Sleepywood.
No, Holly is now. Yes, Holly is my name now.
Okay.
Now it is.
Right. And your maiden name is Wood.
Correct.
Correct. So your parents named you Hollywood, and you're from California.
Yes.
What type of pixie dust were your parents on when they named you? That's what I want to know.
It was the 70s.
That's what I'm thinking. It was the 70s. Exactly.
You know, that right there, that just explains it. I don't think we can anymore.
My mom wanted to name me Sharona, so, you know.
With the last name Wood, it doesn't matter what she names you, it's going to be funny anyway, so it works out anyways. What do you have a story you could tell?
You guys are killing me. I honestly cannot go after those ones. Like,
You can swear. I'm going to bleep it all out.
No, mine are so, like I said. Okay, I'm going to try this, and we'll see how it goes. So, George is so bad on this show and ruins so much stuff that our passengers had to come up with a hashtag that George ruins everything, right? And that was our passenger, right? What happened? Who made up that hashtag?
Who made it up?
Yeah, wasn't that our passengers?
Yeah, it was all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I thought it was Jess.
George ruined my life.
I think George ruined Jess's trip. Is what the reality is.
So, several months
George
ago,
ruins vacations.
Isn't it catchy? Several months ago, George and I were supposed to meet up in Disney World. And, of course, he canceled, right? Because that's what George does. But not before we combined our My Disney Experience profiles. So now for the rest of my life, even after I've long forgotten him, I still have to know what this guy is doing. I still have to get his notifications of when he's going, where he's going, what he's eating. So every time I log in, there's George. Years from now, I'd be like, George who? Who is this? So anyways, so a new hashtag is George ruined my app.
Nice.
Well, there's something worse he could have ruined that begins with A. So.
Watch out. That sounds like George can hashtag ruin your marriage.
Yeah.
So a while back, we did an episode. I think it was titled like After 5 somewhere. And like you said, Jay, all it took was one drink. But I think George had 3 drinks on this occasion. So he was so drunk that he started talking to crickets, right? Like he made a friend that was a cricket and he said it was Jiminy. So now I can't even kill crickets without thinking I'm killing Jiminy. So we have just crickets all over. So now George ruined crickets for me because George ruined my conscience. I gotta make a shirt out of these hashtags some days. So I have never experienced kitchen cabaret. I have no idea. But George sings it so often that my entire family goes around singing veggie, veggie, fruit, fruit. I actually had to Google this to see what the heck, what am I singing? All my whole family sings this. So now George ruined my family. And as Jay mentioned earlier, you cannot say anything on this episode, on any episode with George without repercussions, because you can't say words like hard, alien swirling saucers, stick, bun, wet, sloppy, top, bottom, hot dog, without George losing his mind.
I can see him holding it in so tight right now. He's trying to say it so fast.
So red right
We
now.
call him the little brother because he's the youngest, but no, it's because he's so immature that now George ruined my vocabulary because I have to change every word that I'm going to say. And now most recently, George once again and I made plans. What was I thinking? He was going to come out to Disneyland. We were going to spend the day. So I kept thinking, oh, I better wait to buy the tickets to Disneyland because this was before annual passes were released. But George was like, nope, I got my flights and I booked my room. And so what did I do? I went and bought tickets like a freaking idiot. And yeah, guess what? George cancels. No remorse, nothing. Just, I'm not coming anymore. So now George ruined my bank account and now my marriage. Thanks. But really, it's going to be so weird not having you around, even though you haven't been around for like 6 months. But you're still in the chat. So it's going to be weird not having you in the chats. It really will. I'm not good at like the mushy stuff because I just really lose it, and I'm such a girl about it, but kind of like you. But sorry, once the gates just open, they just start flooding. But I'm really gonna miss you and really miss you on the shows because we've had a lot of fun and some really great episodes I think have come out of it because it's just been a lot of fun getting to know you. So we're really gonna miss you.
That was good, Holly. Thank you.
Great job, Holly.
Great job.
I just want to say to add on to Holly, the reason it's taken George all year to quit is because he told us if he texted us, this would have been done in January.
Dramatic pause for effect.
Was that the dramatic pause? I was wondering what the heck was going on over there.
That was George talking.
Something you might not have known about George, that he was born an only twin. When he was born, the doctor took one look at him and slapped him right in the face. Then when his mother saw him, she slapped the doctor right in the face. You know, George is bottle fed because even his mom didn't want him to get that close to her. In school, the George one time said to his teacher, "I have ASP," and she says, "Yeah, but I'm asking you to spell car." Up next, we have another friend of the show, voiceover guy Ken, and his friend the Champ. They recorded a show. The Champ actually ran into George at Walt Disney World one time in Hollywood Studios, and so he wanted to come on, and they got together and they did a little goodbye message to you, George. Here, let's listen to that.
Yeah, I'm a pretty good improvisator there, Ken. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to bother with following a script. I'll just speak from the heart, okay? Hey, everybody, it's me, Knuckles Muldoon, the Champ, and I'm just here to say thanks a lot to George for coming out today. George, as you may or may not know, is leaving the Grand Circle Tour podcast, and I gotta tell you, me and George, we got a long history, yeah. Him and I used to have just some massive battles back in the day, back when I was still in the ring. And I tell you something, George was just amazing in his prime. He would just come at me like a steam shovel. He'd be hitting me with so many snowballs, I'd be praying for rain. Let me tell you, there was this one time him and I got into it, and he was just hammering on me with a flurry of haymakers. It was actually after that fight, one of the many times I had to actually go and have plastic surgery done. I had to have my nose put back between my eyes, you see. And,
Champ.
But George Foreman,
Champ.
I gotta tell you.
Yo,
George,
Champ.
What is it, Ken?
Yeah. Champ. Not George Foreman.
Not George Foreman.
George Falcione.
George Falcione.
No, Champ. George Falcione.
George Falcione. Who's George Falcione? Oh, isn't he that, he's that Panda's little brother guy, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, I don't really know anything about that guy. He's that hippie-looking dude, you know? Yeah, well, okay.
You know, George ruins everybody's.
Hashtag George ruins everyone's trip. Okay, all right, I got it now. I'm catching up here. So anyway, listen, George, I really don't know you that well, but on behalf of me and Ken here, the voiceover guy, I just want to wish you the best in whatever it is you're gonna do, and say good luck to you. So George ruins everybody's trip. Why do they want this guy on the Grand Circle Tour podcast then?
Oh my goodness. I love the champ.
Thank you, champ. Again. That was great. Okay, I've been making fun of George throughout the night, and it's been really, really fun doing this. But I got to tell you a little conversation that George and Jessica had the other night. George turned to Jessica and he goes, Jessica? And she goes, right. So good job, George. You got that right. But seriously, though, you know what? I'm going to miss you. I know we've had our ups and downs, and but you were always great for a laugh, and you always came prepared, and I always appreciated that of you. And when I would write the schedule, I always made sure not to schedule us together. No, I'm just joking. Up next, we have for finally we have conductor Dan. Dan never met George in person, and wow, is he ever a lucky guy?
True.
Dan recently got into a Twitter argument with one of the New York Mets. It had something to do with Dan calling out one of the Mets, or I don't know exactly what it was, but the Met guy replied back to Dan saying, "You don't know S about me." I can tell you this much: as Dan thinks he's a world famous podcaster, I can assure you, Dan, you know more about this guy than he knows about you. I guarantee you that. Last year, Dan won the Halloween contest. He painted the top of his head blue and went as a ballpoint pen. Dan's the only guy I know has no hair and still has dandruff. Seriously. Alrighty, Dan, you're up next.
Oh, thank you, Stan. Let's give it up for everyone's least favorite Canadian over here. I mean, before tonight, has anyone ever heard a Canadian say a mean thing out of their mouth? Probably not. But you're a busy guy, though, Stan. You know, you got the Grand Circle Tour podcast, you got the solo show, you got Disney Night Live. I mean, your resume is bigger than Bob Chapek's bank account. Let's face it. But at least you could finally answer that question of, can Stan Solo host a good show? And the answer, as we know, is no, he can't. It's an awesome time. I love it when all of us get on a show together. It doesn't happen too often. So when it's here, I have to cherish the moment. And, you know, just looking at your faces, I'm not quite sure if this is a roast for George or if you guys are just in line for a Bob Iger's ass-kissing contest. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen this many people over the last couple of months idolize a man like Bob Iger so much since the last time they were on a show with me, probably, to be honest. But seriously, the last few months you guys have complained a lot. Like, you really have complained. It's really bad. It's really bad. I mean, Disney gives you all these new e-ticket attractions. They give you more restaurants, more hotels, more transportation methods. They open a park in a freaking pandemic, but God forbid they take away their free Magical Express. You guys all go bonkers. Sometimes with you guys, I feel like I'm in a chocolate factory with a bunch of spoiled brats. All right. Jay, let's start with you, all right? Real quick. Hardest working guy on the podcast. Am I right? He does all the editing. He does everything for the show, and we really appreciate that. One time he told me that he worked on a show for 8 hours straight, which we all don't believe. I mean, we believe the 8-hour part, but the straight part? Not for us, right? Mindy's not here today, but what do we all know about Mindy? We all know that she loves churros. And how do we know this? Because she tells us on every single episode. Yes, Mindy, we get it. But I have news for you. Churros, they're just breadsticks with a dream. That's all they are. And Holly, I'm pretty sure Holly owns more bows for her mouse ears than the actual Minnie Mouse does. Both ladies on the show, ironically, are the Disneyland lovers. Both girls love Disneyland, which I guess proves, as per the women, that bigger isn't always better. Justin, you're not going to get away. I see you putting your head down. This guy has more useless knowledge in his head than anyone I have ever met. That's not even a joke. I think Justin will admit that. And if he put his brain to good use, I think we could finally figure out this whole Fast Pass fiasco. Sometimes when I'm on a show with Justin, I have to force myself just to stay awake and follow along because it's so complicated. It's really amazing we have so many listeners, to be honest. Working with this team gives me a lot of feelings. I feel a little overworked and a little under-intoxicated at times. Look at us. I mean, when we were younger, we dreamed about being the adult Disney fans, right? And now look at us all. Bunch of adults who host a podcast about Disney from our basements. Man, we officially made it, let me tell you. All right, let's get on to George. George. When they asked me to be a part of this roast of George, I thought, well, that's just a typical day for me. I mean, you guys all just sat here and had a great time saying mean things about him. I've been doing it for years. I'm the only one that just doesn't hold my feelings in, I guess. The truth is, George is jealous of me. Let's face it. We all know that. I'm funnier than him, better looking, smarter. I can definitely dance better. We all know that. I'm like the Arnold Schwarzenegger to his Danny DeVito, right? It's not a secret to any of our listeners out there that George and I don't like each other. I'm not saying I hate you, George. I'm just saying that if you were hit by a bus, I'd probably be the one driving that bus. Look at me sitting here doing all the joking and talking and creativeness while George just sits there like a typical podcast recording. I'm joking. Look at that face. Look how cute George is. When I see George's face, I wouldn't change a thing except the direction I'm walking. George, we hope that you are successful in everything that you do after the Grand Circle Tour podcast, and we hope that you go far. Really, really far. Stay there, please. We talk a lot about cues here. Let's get back to Disney. We talk a lot about cues at Disney, right? Q. It's a funny word. I always thought that was a funny word. Spelled Q-U-E-U-E. U-E-U-E. Very useless in the word, right? Which is fitting since we're talking about George. Useless in the show. Most people think George's favorite princess is Ariel, but it's not true. It's actually Rapunzel. Except Instead of letting down his hair, he just lets down our listeners every week. Every time we do a podcast together, I'm hoping for a battle of wits with George, but he always comes unarmed. I gotta be honest. But when we do shows together, I have a hard time following along sometimes because, quite frankly, I don't speak idiot. Speaking of which, the village called and they're looking for you. Stop it. I'm joking. Calling you an idiot is like an insult to all stupid people, George. George likes to be the quote-unquote smart ass of the group, only he's not smart, so it just leaves him being an ass. I'm serious. Look at this guy's face. Seriously, look at him. He's like a before picture. Look at George. Keep rolling your eyes, George. I see you rolling your eyes. Maybe you'll find a brain back there if you roll them far enough. One time, George and I were talking about our least favorite Disney movies, and he told me he doesn't like Snow White because it's unrealistic because mirrors don't talk in real life. Luckily for him, they don't laugh either. I think everyone by this point knows of my fear of monkeys, and with all that hair on George's body, maybe it makes sense why I don't like you. People like you don't grow on trees; they swing from them, George. Last time me and you spoke on the phone, I kept thinking to myself, maybe Thanos was right. George's YouTube name is Disney Family Man 23, and the 23 represents how many followers he has. After he quits the podcast after today, he's going to be renamed to Disney Family Man 4, by the way. All right. On a serious note, here we go. I wrote a little something down here. Sorry. George and I have been doing this for a bunch of years now. And all of our shtick that goes back and forth has never been real. The two of us have a great respect for each other, and I love him like a brother. About 4 years ago, I was asked to start a project by some random people. That's a true story. Just random people got together. And I remember talking to George one of those first nights and thought to myself, wow, this guy, he's honestly just like me. And I never met someone that close to what my personality was. And together, I'm proud that we've worked and built something that I love and cherish, and that I think a lot of our listeners do as well. Something that's become more of a hobby. Meeting you and the others have given me a second family that I have had no clue that I needed in my life. George has been my co-host, my verbal sparring partner, my fellow Disney geek, but most of all, he's been my friend. Someone I can count on to talk to, someone I can talk to about anything I want to. He's taught me about faith, about what a friend is, about not taking life too seriously. And for that, George, I will always be grateful. We wish you nothing but success, and I want you to know that you will always have a home here in the GCT family. Love you, brother.
Oh, that was great. Thank you, Dan. That was awesome. I have a question. Why did you hold back so much? I thought you were going to let him have it.
You should have seen the pages that were deleted.
You should see what he sent to me to say that I didn't say.
We have a lot of fun with George during the show, but in all fairness, he needs to get a chance to have a word to speak his mind. I mean, after all, he is the man of the hour and is a podcast legend, or at least in his own mind he is. All righty, George, you're up. You got any words you want to end the show with?
Wow. First of all, this definitely caught me by surprise. I thought this was going to be kind of like a reminiscing type of, talk about like our times together on the podcast, maybe talk about some shows, have some laughs.
Wow, you were wrong.
And
as usual,
you had some laughs. At your expense.
I mean, I just really, honestly, I'm usually one that's not lost for words. Lo and behold, because I usually use one word at a time every 5 seconds. But I definitely have to say, You guys are a bunch of. Wow. Okay, so Jay, right off the bat, I mean, I thought, okay, being that this was going to be a roast, I mean, I thought maybe he was going to kind of ease on in, just kind of like start it off, and then I get like 3 FUs in like one sentence. It's like, what the hell?
You.
But Jay and I go back a long time. I mean, we've done a special trip together for the Tower of Terror event and everything. And, after the trip, I was just like so glad to be out of there, because it was just like, oh my God, it was like drama after drama after drama after drama. It's like, I felt like I was part of the Real Housewives. It's the Real Housewives of Disney World. And it was like, holy. But then I thought with Jay, actually, while I was sitting here, listening to you all, that I kind of figured that I'd hit Jay where it hurts the most. And I know for him, that's like his baby, his attraction is the Tower of Terror. So rather than honestly kind of roast him, I thought maybe for a couple seconds I'll roast the Tower of Terror. So I kind of figured that with this new lightning lane thing, I think the best way to approach it with the Tower of Terror is the lightning lane leads you straight to the exit. Because it's like, it is so, this attraction is just so completely done. I mean, the cobwebs are real. That it's like, it's just so ancient that the reason why that this attraction has an angle to it when you walk down Sunset Boulevard is because with all the storms out of all the hurricanes, that building has been sitting there for God knows how long, that every storm, it just makes a little turn every single time until it just blows the hell away. Don't we all wish it would? Leave up some space for an actual true attraction to go there. How about that? But as I said, I kind of figured just kind of hit the attraction because I know that's your baby. But in all retrospect, you and I have been very best friends since the very beginning. And I just have a certain kind of, older brother, younger brother, especially because you're the older one. And that it's just something that, I definitely will continue our friendship even beyond this podcast, because you and I have a very unique, special friendship that I'll always keep with me. So I appreciate that. Holly. Well, it's nice to see that you actually came prepared today. Thank you very much. Which that's actually Holly's like MO for everything. Like every time that we get on to record something, she's completely unprepared, and it's like, well, Holly, this is your show. So I mean, you're the one that brought us the information. You brought us the current subject matter, and yet you're the one that you're unprepared. And it's like, okay, well, this is going to steamroll right off the rails. And Holly is someone that constantly, I think out of all of us, has been to Disneyland since the reopening of it the most. But yet she constantly bitches and complains about every little thing. And after she's done, it's like, okay, well, I'm going back. I blink, and then she goes back. And it's like, okay, so I get to go to this, I get to go to that. And it's like, well, I'll be back, and I'll let you guys know my complaints later. So. But, Holly, I do really appreciate our friendship. You're the type of person that when we get on to record, you have these certain quirks about you that actually make you so unique and different, and it just makes you of who you are, and I really do appreciate that about you. And so, I mean, there's nothing really more I could say. You're just very quirky. Justin. What can I say about Justin? Anybody? What can I literally say about Justin? I'm lost here. I haven't actually recorded with Justin. Like, I maybe done like 2 detours and maybe 1 one show. I mean, I don't know who the hell is in charge of the scheduling here, but holy. It must be someone like up in Canada or Alaska or something. But for the very short period of time that I actually did a few things like with Justin, he's very intricate in detail of what he's talking about, especially when he took his road trip and he did his show, and more so just talking about it and talking about it. And I'm like kind of skimming through the whole entire episode. I'm like, how long is this thing? And so, but I have to say, actually, my favorite part of the road trip was when you guys were closing it out with the outro. So I have to say thank you for that. But no, in all actuality, I actually did really enjoy working with you all 2 times, and I'm actually glad you're part of the podcast. You bring something to it that, you know, it's a lot of information, a lot of data and everything, and we actually need that as part of the GCT, because I mean, if you look at the dais around me, it's like they need all the help they can get. Stan.
Oh boy.
Stan. So I got to spend a little bit of time with Stan at California during the D23 Expo. We spent some time at Disneyland. We had lunch. We had a great time. And I kind of figured, you know, maybe we could hit up some rides. And I thought maybe he was exaggerating. You know, he wasn't really going, you know, he's not really into like the riding because of his, you know, motion sickness and everything. And honestly, that really caught me by surprise, because the longest line that we stood in was to get that damn popcorn bucket on Main Street. And it's okay, so are we going to do anything else? It's like, okay, so we'll go into the hall, we'll go see Lincoln. I said, okay, and then, oh, there's this show back in Tomorrowland that's airing like all different snippets of Star Wars, and it's like, boy, did my day just get ever so boring. But no, in all actuality, Stan, you and I we have this type of connection that it's like completely different than anybody else's, and I really truly mean that. But it's one of those things that you are really good at what you do, and you literally are the captain of the ship when it comes to the podcast. Because honestly, if it wasn't for you, you bring all of this together and for the final product, and you just ram it right off a cliff. So I appreciate. But no, Stan, in all actuality, I enjoyed spending my time with you at Disneyland. I hope we get to have many more times, because even though I'm, you know, leaving the podcast, I definitely want to continue our friendship and do lots of activities and most, you know, so that's that. Okay, so I think I'm done. I have everybody. I think I'm good.
Yep, everyone's done.
Everyone that's relevant, right? So, Dan. That was very interesting. I mean, I have to actually agree with Stan for the first time in my life. I actually have to agree with Stan. I mean, I would love to really hear what you really feel about me. You know, it's like, thanks for kind of holding back on that. The thing is with Dan is, from the very beginning, we just kind of had this back and forth kind of like rivalry that, you know, anything I can do better, you know, and don't ask me to sing, because that's not one of my best qualities. Dancing, yes, I can definitely dance my ass off, and I could definitely beat you in a dance off, but don't ask me to sing, because if I say, wait, actually, maybe I should sing, because it sounds like a bunch of screeching monkeys. So, Dan, it's, and then I read your message on the messenger about Connor saying that his favorite host was Justin, and I'm like just sitting back, and it's like, Well, actually, Connor should be thanking me because from my absentee that Justin's been on every single freaking show since then. So it's like he pretty much became his favorite out of default. So that would be, let's see, Justin, then he could thank me. That would make me number 2. So that would make you number 3. So that would make you completely dead last. So once again, I am above you. So you're welcome. But in all actuality, Dan, you know I love you. Honestly, the back and forth that you and I go through, it brings the podcast very, it's unique, it's very entertaining, and it's kind of like what they say, you roast the ones you love, and that's basically why I didn't really come at you with a lot of hits right now. So, but in all actuality, Dan, I appreciate your heartfelt words at the very end, and actually, as I can actually say of how I agree with Stan, I am also agreeing with you to every word the same way back. And boy, did this roast just make me agree with Stan and Dan. I feel so dirty. I need a shower after this. So, but I appreciate you all for doing what you did. You put in a lot of time and effort to do this for me. And even though that you guys, you guys pulled it off. You gave me one hell of a good roast, and that's what I wanted. I have that type of personality that I enjoy it, and I'm so glad that you guys know my personality, that I would be okay with it, because I mean, if I really wasn't, like the second you would have announced the roast, I'd be blocking all your asses right now. So,
George. Thank you.
But all I have to say is, and honestly, one last thing directed to Holly, which I forgot to mention during my thing, and I have to say it to get it out, because I got to get it out of me. This is a roast, so I just have to say that you kind of started this thing sort of like how I have like the hashtag George ruined everything. You started where in the world is Holly? Well, apparently, I believe that she actually started that because she really needs people to tell her where the hell she's at. So I just had to add that in. But in all actuality, you guys are my family. We share this common bond of a love that brought us together through fate, through everything. And we all have our own different personalities that we all bring together. I think if we were all the same, it would be just completely boring and, something that people wouldn't really listen to. And, maybe that's our problem. So, but no, you each bring something to the table that I enjoyed every week, that whoever I was recording with, minus Dan, of course, that I was waiting for something to happen unexpectedly that would just make the recording so much fun, so much unique, and I definitely will miss that. And, the fact that I was off for 3 months, Holly, 3 months, not 6, that, just a lot of reflecting and everything. But in all actuality, I will definitely miss this podcast. It opened so many doors for me to get to know people in the fan community, and just to know you guys, to not even just call you my friends, but to call you my family. And I'll definitely continue to stay in touch and, go forward, make this podcast successful, and kind of definitely throw in those hashtag George ruined my something, because I know you guys will.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, George.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay.
Now I've said you a lot, but we love you, man.
Take it away, Ken.
If you would like to keep the adventure going after the show, be sure to like our Facebook friends page, Grand Circle Tours Magical Ticket Holders. While you're on Facebook, like our group page, Grand Circle Tours. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Grand Circle Tours Podcast, as well as on Instagram, GCT Podcast, and our YouTube channel, Grand Circle Tour. If you would like to email us, drop us a line at gctpodcast@gmail.com. T-shirts and other fun merchandise can be found at tpublic.com. Simply search Grand Circle Tour Podcast. If you enjoyed your adventure, leave us a review on Apple Podcast. Only one rule: make it good. All logos, sounds, songs, and music that are made by and for Disney and its affiliates are the full ownership of the Disney Corporation and are not, nor are they intended to be, the ownership of the Grand Circle Tour Podcast. Thank you for riding with us, and welcome home.
Isn't Primeval World the same ride at DCA called Goofy Sky School? Or are they the same attraction?
It's the same type of ride system. It's sort of like a mouse coaster, except
Crazy Mouse. Yep.
Except in Primeval World, you actually spin while you're going through like a zigzag, like a pinball. Where Goofy Sky School, it's just a one dimension of zipping through the corners. So you do a lot of spinning while jerking on Primeval World. On the corners. Jerking on the corners.
Cut it out.
Cut it.
Wow, we're on fire today.
I'm sorry.
Holy mackerel.
Oh,
Sorry.
I knew it. Right after I said it, I looked at Jay's face and I thought, oh my God.
Oh, man.
I told myself I wasn't going to lose it.
We're going to have to publish a episode that was cut and then an unedited version.
What happens when we don't have girls on the show to keep us on good behavior?
I know. We got to, at all times. We can never have an all-male show ever.
I'm sorry.
Oh, good.
Sorry. I remember where we were now. So there's. Okay, sorry.
Let me just say, the Primeval World does a lot of spinning, and Goofy Sky School does not.
Yeah, just stick with that.
What happens with me when I go in too much detail?
I'm so sorry. Over here.
This is like almost crying over there. Whew. All right, let's everyone deep breaths.
Phew. Should we say something? We just cut that for laughter.
So I pretty much did my number 2 and 1. So
go ahead if you can, George. Just do that last part again so I can cut it in.